Now this brings us to the next issue with making something legal or illegal just based on how much money you can make off of it. So marijuana is legal in Michigan now. What about all those people that have that on their record, that are doing jail time, that are doing prison time, that had to put that on their job application that they did get arrested for marijuana or what have you, amongst other things, and now got denied a job? Think about how many thousands, tens of thousands of people's of lives that were ruined in Michigan alone. Nationwide, millions easily. Millions easily. Think about how many lives were ruined based on something that you're saying now, like, oh no, that's okay now, because we can make some money off of that. Yeah, we have a different view on that. Now, we didn't even talk about some of the medicinal claims in terms of people that have fibromyalgia and all these other things that go along with it. I'm just telling you straight off the facts of what was legal, what was illegal. We're not even, because all we heard was bad. We had. But then when we start hearing about all the medical benefits, I mean, and you knew this was coming down the line, because in Michigan, they started doing something called medical marijuana. So as long as you had a license and a card and some type of history or some type of ailments, accidents, or whatever prescribed by a doctor, you could get marijuana. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. So we're saying that a doctor can prescribe marijuana because you have back pain. But if you don't go see a doctor and take the same marijuana, you go to jail, prison. But now we're saying that it's okay, you don't even have to even have back pain. You can just do it recreationally. Wow, this is how far we've come. Look at where we are as a society. With something that we destroyed these people's characters, we destroyed their lives, put these things on their permanent record. And quite frankly, once you get in the system, it's almost impossible to get out of it. I was in the system for something that I didn't do. And only by God's grace, he got me out of that. And my wife, who I love so dearly, looked beyond everything and was like, nah, this ain't true about him. We're going to go find out the truth. Listen, this system is meant to keep you in there. There is no escape. There is no getting out. So once you get in there, even on a minor charge, your chances of getting out of that is not so good. This is why they have repeat offenders. This is why they have these probation violations, where every little thing you could have got charged with marijuana, did your jail time, you get out, you're on probation. If you show up to work 5 minutes late, you're back in jail. This is how cruel we were to these people. Because the citizens, they voted these laws. The lawmakers didn't just come up with this stuff. They voted for this stuff and said, do this. Yeah, and they have these expungement programs now, but they move very slow. And this is affecting everyone. It's not just a black thing. This is affecting white people as well. It's affecting everybody. All nationalities. Because they have a loved one who's now not able to get a job, or who's in a position where their lives have been ruined. They lost houses, cars, families over something that we're saying is legal now. But that should have never been the question. The question is, should it have been moral? And I'll tell you the truth. If someone wants to go smoke an evergreen tree in their car or in their house, we should not care one bit, one way or the other, no matter what it made them do. Because then that's something that you can, after you find out the first time, oh man, this evergreen tree, man, it makes you do crazy stuff. Now you want to consider you smoking the evergreen tree. Then whatever happens after that, then we can talk about, whatever punishments or, to fit the crimes that were committed from that. But it should have never even been a question of whether or not this was legal or illegal. It shouldn't even been a question. The only point of it was for them to bring this in to make money off of this. And like I told you, that Tom Cruise movie shows this. And now we're going to make money off of it. How? Through the prison system. See, you're making money on the prison systems because the prison systems are privatized now. That's another thing we talk about. These prison systems, when they build these complex systems, what they're doing is be it these huge complexes, they're able to pass these millages where they're able to get more tax money, and that tax money goes towards these people's salaries, the lawmakers, the prison officials, and their bonuses. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about that one day. We're going to talk about what you think are public servants. They're making more bank than you. I got a job offer once from a government entity, small government, small, not the federal government, but it was county government. They're like, hey, listen, we can't pay you a lot, but here's how we can make up for it. We have a 3-to-1 401k program. It was either 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. It was at least 3-to-1 though. It actually got brought up in the news because someone filed suit and it kind of got brought up about what was going on with that. And they've actually disbanded this practice. But I said, wow. So thinking about this, the county that it was in, you have a lot of poor people. You have probably 60-70% of certain cities and areas living below the poverty line. And now you're using their tax monies not to further education, food programs, job programs, clothing drives, building homes. I mean, even in Los Angeles, they're building luxury condos for the homeless. So not to do any of that stuff with it, but to pad your pockets on a 3-to-1 to 4-to-1 401k program. So I could have been making $80,000, but on a 4-to-1 program like that, you're going to be making some major money. And you do that over the course of 20, 30, 40 years, which a lot of these people are in these jobs do. And I'm not knocking them. They're taking what's being given to them. See, it's not their fault. Like I said, the problem that's going on, even when I'm talking about the marijuana, I'm not directing this towards the lawmakers. I'm saying it's all of us. We are the lawmakers. We elected these people, and then they made up these bills, and we passed their bills. So we passed a bill that, yes, because we can get revenue off of this, we should tax marijuana and make it legal. So this is what you get out of that. So you have all these things that need to be righted. And like I said, the expungement program is one of them. And when I heard about this 10, 12 years ago, I was just like, man, I hope they vacate everyone's sentence, let them out of jail, and give them a check because we put you in jail falsely. Because we put you in jail over something that was opinionated, over something that's right, or over something that's fact. It's your opinion on whether or not marijuana should be legal or not. This is why a lot of states still have it illegal. It's just an opinion. Why should you have your entire life ruined by an opinion? So, backtracking a little bit more, now we go to the Me Too movement. And I looked at that and I knew exactly what those women were going through because I've worked with HR, just being in some of the positions I've worked with HR on a lot of different cases and a lot of different things, and I've seen the way things work, and I've been involved. So the way it works is, somebody can do something to you, and in exchange for money, instead of making it right, instead of getting rid of that person, instead of making it right, because that story I told you about that woman who the vice president made a derogatory comment, she could take the $50,000, but she had to quit the same day. So it was a take it or leave it offer. Here's the offer. Yeah, he said that we know there's a bunch of people who collaborated that, but you got to leave. Not him. She had to leave. Now he eventually ended up leaving, but it shouldn't have been a thing where both of them left. Like, this was not something that happened in the back room. He said, she said. This happened in an open meeting, and it was very inappropriate what he said. $50,000 inappropriate? I don't know, but I know this. She shouldn't have lost her job. And this is not something that you can come at men about, women, because the president over HR was a woman. The 3 vice presidents under her were all women. I said, wow. Everyone making the decision on this were women. The directors under them are mostly women. The person who made this call on what should happen in terms of, who stays, who leaves, the money, was a woman. And it's wrong. And this is what happens. A lot of times these people sign this stuff or are forced to go in a different direction. They're forced to quit. They're forced to do this stuff, and you're not allowed to talk about it, and you're not allowed to bring suit again. This is why a lot of women weren't allowed to talk about a lot of things that happened, even with Harvey Weinstein and other things, because they had signed these agreements. And as soon as you break that agreement, you forfeit that money. They can come at you and collect the money. You got to think about what type of society we've created where we will allow that to happen. A lot of people don't even know that exists and this is happening. And I certainly didn't until it happened to me. I had to leave a company over some practices that were wrong. In exchange for me taking care of my family for the next 26 weeks with medical benefits and pay, I had to denounce they did anything wrong when it was very obvious and clear that they did something wrong. And not only that, I had to leave the company the same day. Now, I thank God from one aspect because they were about to fire me over this thing and I probably would have got nothing. So, this provided, for my family for 26 weeks, and we were pregnant or about to be pregnant at the time. So I thank God for that. My wife and daughter were able to get top-notch medical care until that expired. Then it expired, and then it's like, now what? So this is something that we need to start looking at very closely. Everything that we do, are we doing it because it's the legal thing, or are we doing it because it was right or wrong? When I was younger, I would ask my mom about different things. So there were different, I remember there was a court case where they accused this guy of killing someone. They had the evidence. They went and got the evidence at his house, had his fingerprints, had everything. And they could have framed him, but they probably didn't. But in this particular case, but they had all the evidence. They had it there. Someone forgot to sign the search warrant a certain way or forgot one thing. Guess what? All that evidence became what? And you guys know this word. Starts with an I. Inadmissible. Right? So something that wasn't gathered the right way is inadmissible. Now, the justice system has completely eroded any trust in it at all. And this is, like I said, this is not just coming from one group of people saying this. This is everybody. Everyone's had these experiences where they're like, nah, this isn't right. And this is why everyone really was so quick to jump on the bandwagon on the gentleman who had his neck stepped on for George Floyd for 9 minutes. But that was only because they saw it. But this has been talked about ever since we've came to America. Enslaved, cattle slavery, branded, beaten, raped, tortured, our women, our stomachs cut open, cats put in them. Yeah, all that stuff happened. I'm going to be talking about, I have a class coming up in February on Black History. We're going to talk about, like, slavery just makes it seem like you were just working for someone for no wages, which is horrible enough as it is. That would have been a Disneyland compared to what was really going on day and night. So anyway, so now we have a situation where someone did the crime, but then now they get let go, and they had to let him go because all the evidence was tied up into this warrant. The warrant wasn't signed correctly. Something wasn't done. All the evidence was tied up, and they let him go, and he walked. Another thing I found very interesting, I was talking to my mom about this stuff. This stuff didn't seem right. But see, as a kid, kids will recognize this. But once you, as an adult, once you grow up, once people are able to explain things away, then you grow up thinking this is just normal. Now, attorney-client privilege. We got to ask, what is the purpose of attorney-client privilege? Is it to provide some legal protection or moral protection? Because if it's provide legal protection, we just prove that being legal, something can be legal or illegal. It doesn't make it right or wrong. But if it's to provide moral protection, well, that's a different story. So we've seen several movies about it. Anthony Hopkins did one. I think it was called Fracture. That's what it was called. It's called Fracture. I think it was Ryan Reynolds. No, Mark Gosling and who was it? Ryan Gosling, Anthony Hopkins. You can confess the crime to your lawyer, and your lawyer legally is not obligated to tell the courts. Why not? Even think about the way the court system. You know why the court and the justice system has turned into the injustice system the way that it is? We see the injustices today. Like I said, George Floyd was just a drop in the. George Floyd was a grain of sand on the biggest beach you can find. It's something that's symptomatic. It's something that's like an everyday normal life occurrence because of injustice. Think about this. Think about when you're read your quote-unquote Miranda rights. These are your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can, now watch this next phrase, and will be used against you. So you can't even bring somebody in to say, hey, did you do this? Because anything that they say, no, I didn't do it, will be used against you. Whenever somebody says can and will, just take out the can and just go with the will. Anything you say will be used against you. So you're never able to get to the bottom of anything. And this is why we have lawyers as a profession, not from a moral standpoint, not from what's right, but because it can generate a lot of money for our economy. Because if these people are making $500,000-$600,000 a year, that's houses, that's cars, that's food, all the small mom and pop shops, everyone's eating really well. So we got to have that. We got to have that system in place to take from people and be a mediator over something that doesn't really even need mediation. I shouldn't have to even say that to you. I should be honest and moral enough to be able to ask you what happened. Now, to have someone on your side advising you and helping you and things of that nature, yes, but it should be helping you get to the truth. Not to help you evade the truth. And this is where we find ourselves now. So, I wanted to give you that to kind of have you think about that. The stuff that we're doing. The way we look at things, the way we judge things. And we are a very judgmental society here in the U.S., extremely judgmental. The things that we should be judging, we don't. Things that we shouldn't have any say in, shouldn't matter left or right. We make that the focal point and we make that the story. And it's to the point now where you can't even tell someone what happened or what is right or what is wrong for fear of backlash of losing your job, backlash of losing the money that they gave you. I mean, you got to think about this. What about all the other women these men went on to do things with? You're not even allowed to give them fair warning. I think it was really ridiculous. If someone was just a horrible employee and stole from the company and did all this stuff, ended up getting fired, when the other HR, when the new company, when they apply for a new job, that person applies for a new job, HR is only allowed to ask them their time of service and their title. That's it. Nothing about any performance reviews, nothing about any of that stuff like, oh yeah, this guy, he embezzled $5 million from the company, or this guy, yeah, he was accused of, 20 women. Like, here's the thing, one or two, or even I would just say one, it could be a one-off, yes, up or down, yes or no, we don't know what happened. 20 collaborated, verified, these people don't know one another and they're just coming independently. That's something that needs to be looked into. You're not even allowed to even know about that. So it's like we're hiring these people, like our hiring practices are horrible. I'll get into that another day, but like this whole thing with the resume and then the interview, this is such a meaningless practice. You're not really getting the full picture. You're not getting anything at all. Tell you the truth. They're just regurgitating the words that they think you want to hear in order to get the job. This is why when I've always hired, I've always gone against the grain. Most of my people did not have degrees. I was the most successful group in the company. And everyone knew that. And that made a lot of people mad. Because I was hiring everyone. I was hiring Indians. I'm talking about Native American Indians. Now, when's the last time you've seen a Native American Indian in corporate America at a large brand? I was hiring Native Americans. I was hiring Indians from India. I was hiring people from Taiwan. I was hiring people from Africa. It was literally the United Nations. And that wasn't by design, not even close. I would start these interviews off like, okay, this is what you did. Let's just put this aside. I would throw away their resume. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk. Let's talk this thing through. What would you do in this situation? What are you looking to do? How are you looking to help out our team? What's going on here? Because of that, I was very blessed and fortunate. Our team won a lot of national awards, and we were known throughout the entire organization. And I was only a manager. We were known throughout the entire organization. The organization's 10, 15,000 people. We were known. And we were known because I was looking at what was practical, what was the thing that we needed to do, not the legalities on a piece of paper. You went to Princeton. Okay, great for you. I can train someone off the street to do this job even better because they're actually going to listen to what I have to say because they're going to humble themselves, be grateful for the opportunity. Whereas from Princeton, you think you know everything. And listen, nothing in academia works in corporate America. Nothing. Nothing in academia works in corporate America. Teenagers, talk to your parents about that. Your parents will tell you the truth. Nothing in academia works in corporate America. Academia is only good in academia. Tell you what happened. So, quick story. I didn't get any of my degrees. So I didn't get any of my degrees until I was into late 30s. And God blessed me to do very well. I was 19. I had a job I left U of M. All my friends were struggling at U of M. God provided an opportunity. I'm actually doing it. But I was doing it to the point where I didn't even know I was doing it. I'm just like, oh man, is this wrong? Ford made me a job offer. I'm only a sophomore. I haven't finished my schooling yet. So all the friends I went to school with, I had a job, my second year in. I thank God for that opportunity. So I started my corporate America young. I was in corporate America since I was 19. I was able to buy my first house because of it when I was like 21, 22. So I'm really thankful to God for that opportunity. And it became a thing where I began to be resented more and more the different companies I went to because they found out, man, I'm doing all this with no degree. Ford actually got all their leadership, and I know this because someone who was in leadership came down and talked to me about it. Ford got all their leadership together and said, make sure Damon does not move up in the company. They actually did that. I left went some other place. It's the same type of thing. So I get to this large medical organization and doing some consulting work there. And they offer me a full-time position. I'm really not interested and, don't really have my degree. And I know that's a requirement. They're like, yeah, it would be a requirement, but, we give you a couple of years to finish it or whatever. So by that time, my wife had already enrolled me. I had like half my credits finished. My wife had already enrolled me without me even knowing in a program, in an online program. So while this was going on with my job, I'm having these discussions. She just on her own, just being led by her, her spirit. She was on her own looking at different online programs. Come to find out, it's like, hey, baby, they offered us this position. I'm not really sure if we should take it or whatever. I have to do this, get my degree or what have you. And she's like, well, Damon, I've already took your email. I already enrolled you in an online program. So it's like God told her this. So I was able to do that. So I'm in the online program. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. Computer science, for what that means today, heavy IT. I was in the heavy IT field before it was called IT, back in the mid 90s, even in school, even when I was in high school, mid 90s. And then I moved into more of like a cybersecurity, what they call information security. So this is a highly technical, highly specialized field, highly specialized, dealing with cryptography, all that type of stuff. So one of the things is, security of your application, security of your phone, security of your organization. So I've been involved in a lot of designs on how to secure an organization from outside threats. So for an example, if another country is trying to exfiltrate data, how do you secure against that? This is real world stuff that I was dealing with. We actually had a room that we actually dealt with other nation states, specifically trying to counter their attempts to exfiltrate data from us. This is real time. This is the real thing. Nation states, countries. Okay. So this is what I've been used to for 20 years of my life. I've worked for big brands my entire life, and it was always large scale. Security was very much at the forefront, even before it was a thing where it is today. It was always at the forefront. How do we secure this stuff? And that knowing how to do that allowed me to get the jobs that I had and made a lot of money doing this, a lot of money. So I get to this school, and I'm struggling in all my classes because I'm putting down the answers the way they should be put down, but I'm not getting credit for it. Getting C minuses for my responses. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not saying it because this is me. This is how you would do it. This is how this was done. So this one particular paper, I wrote this paper on how to secure an organization. And I got an E or a D on that paper. So I go to the professor. I was like, listen, none of the things that I got marked down for you would ever be able to do at a real organization. This is wrong. I should have got listen, I'm not saying I had to get an A, but I should have at least got a passing grade, because what I am saying is what happens in organizations. And what you are saying and what the book is saying is not true. And he said, this is what he said to me, and I kept this. I screenshot it and I kept it. I hope I still have it, but I remember I screenshot it. He said, Damon, you should know by now that academia and real life are two different things. Now, right then and there, I should have just quit my job, quit the school, or what have you, because it shows what I'm talking about. Academia is like the legalization of things. This is how you secure a network. Where in real life, you wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff. Not only would you not be able to do it, you would get fired. So I'd rather get an E on a paper than get fired from a job. But I needed to get at least a B in the class in order to keep my job. So I had to reprogram my brain, write all the wrong stuff on a rewrite. I don't even think I was even allowed to rewrite. I think it was like a rewrite, and they took the averages. I forgot what it was. But I had to do that just to be able to pass. That's the legalization of it. What he was saying, that's what's on the text. That's what's in the text. But he even admitted, damn it. And he was saying it as if I was in the wrong. But it just let me know how crazy he was and this world is. I said, Damon, you should know by now. Academia and real life, two different things. So my point is, if I was going to school for cybersecurity and I never had a job in cybersecurity, shouldn't cybersecurity be preparing me and getting me ready for real life? What a real job would do? But the answer is no. So, I'll tell you this. I went to the University of Michigan, mid-90s. It was around 96. I think my freshman year was 96 or 97, somewhere around there. So, this was when Windows was huge. This is when Windows 95 just came out. That changed the game, because before that, it was Windows, I think it was 3.1 or 3.11 or something like that, which was which was an upgrade for some of the other products that came out. But Windows 95 changed the game, because that was the second advancement of the kind of like the drag and drop and the icons on the screen and all that stuff that we kind of take for granted, that's second nature now. That really started to be pushed in the forefront. And then they had Windows 95, they had Windows 98, Windows Millennium, Windows 2000. This is when they were really kicking out some really good products before the nonsense that they have today. So, we would take a class. I was taking a class called Operating Systems. That's what the class was. So Windows is an operating system. Example of an operating system is Windows, Mac OS, probably some other ones you haven't heard of, like Red Hat and things of that nature. But I was taking a class on operating systems. So we start learning all this stuff that appears to me to be stupid stuff, nonsense stuff, because I was building computers when I was like 12, 13 years old, probably even younger than that. I wrote my first program when I was 4 or 5. So I knew a lot about computers, and I was really blessed that my parents put me in environments where I was able to explore this stuff and explore those passions and really be able to, get into that at a very young age. Like I said, I wrote my first program I was like 5 or 6. So I'm like, well, I want to learn more about Windows administration, because the Windows that we had learned was just how to use it as a quote unquote typical user. But if you're using it in a large environment, or an organization, corporate America, how do people administer it? You know what I mean? How do you adding accounts? How are you managing different things and stuff like that? It's this space or what have you. So I told my professor, I was like, why aren't we learning? I said, we've been learning a lot. The class was almost over. It's 3/4 of the class, 3/4 of the semester is done. Why aren't we learning about Windows? He said, listen, we can't teach you anything specific. This is the University of Michigan now. We can't teach you anything specific because we don't want to be biased. So we just teach you all types of operating systems, and then that's what we teach you. Well, the operating systems that they taught us were defunct, and they're not in use, like VAX, VMS, stuff that you've never even heard of before. I can't even remember what they were, but it was really just nonsensical stuff. It was just like, no one uses this stuff. This stuff was old, decrepit, what have you. But they didn't want to do Windows because, hey, if you start teaching people how to use Windows, now, God forbid, they end up being prepared for real life. But really what it is, it's a money thing. These universities know they're not getting paid by Microsoft to pump up Microsoft's product, even though Microsoft owns all the market share. Microsoft, Bill Gates set out, and I think it was 1982, to put Microsoft on, I think, 95% of the desktops in the world. That was his goal, and he achieved that. But instead of getting rewarded for that, he got the Justice Department put on him with the antitrust lawsuit. So that was the first time I ever even heard that word or what that meant. And now, in terms of some of his practices with buying up these companies and things of that nature, okay, I can see it from that standpoint, but you should want to learn Windows and Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel in school, because those are the programs you're going to need in corporate America, period. No one's using Red Hat. No one's using Linux. No one's using, and listen, Sun Microsystems, that was a favorite brand of mine. Their CEO, their old CEO, Scott Neely, I don't really know if he even owns or is the CEO of the company before, but it used to be a guy named Scott McNeely. He actually went to my high school at a different time, much earlier. Scott McNeely and Bill Joy actually went to one of the high schools I went to, North Farmington. And ended up having, at the time in the early 2000s, I think they were the second biggest company, IT company in the world, right behind Microsoft. And they had a quote unquote, what they called solution or alternative to Windows. It was called Open Office. And it kind of looked the same, kind of had the same feel, but the buttons are a different place. The items, the different action items are called something different, and it ran a lot slower. But they kind of had that. And their counter to Microsoft was, we're just going to give this software away for free. So, we're going to just, forgo trying to make money off of it, but our market share is, Microsoft, doesn't get the business, and then maybe you'll buy some other products for us, things of that nature, because their computers were expensive. Their computers were very expensive. Their computers were like $10,000 or something. So he does that, and it goes absolutely nowhere. They actually spent a lot of money on this program, Open Office, and it went nowhere. And it's not a knock on him. It's just like by that time, Microsoft was too deep into it where people are trying to do some Open Office. So it's just like Microsoft developed this. You don't have to be a supporter or opponent for it, but to not be able to teach this in school because you're making him money is wrong, when that is the thing that will prepare you. Learning Office, learning Windows is the thing that's going to prepare Windows, not Linux, which I was very familiar with, not all these other operating systems that they try to put, not even Mac OS, not even Mac. Mac is not a standard operating system in corporate America. Now, they've gotten a lot of market share penetration through their iPhones, and because of their iPhones, now with their MacBook Pros in the laptop industry, they've done that, and because their niche has been more artsy. And Microsoft wasn't artsy, they were more productivity. So Microsoft won that. Apple won the artsy award. Microsoft won the productivity award. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn about Windows just because we don't want to make him money, when that is the thing that's going to get you a job. So what do? Now you get to corporate America and you got to learn Windows administration. So what do? Now they charge you with these certifications. And everyone knows about this. It may be different industry that you're in, but now once you graduate, that's still not enough. Now you got to get certified. But here's the thing, the certification is where the real information is. For example, in Michigan, Eastern Michigan University is widely considered the top teaching university in the U.S. Used to be number one. Still probably a top 10 teaching school, minimally. I think the last report I saw had it in the top 5, but it's right there. So you can go to Eastern Michigan. You can graduate with a degree in what they call childhood education, but then you have to go spend another year getting certified. My question is, why? I spent $100,000 on this degree. I spent 4 or 5 years of my entire life. I don't know what it takes now. And it's the same thing. You can go to school for computers. When you come out, your job is going to have to send you to get trained. And these classes are very expensive. They're like $5,000, $10,000 a piece to go get certified in actually how to use a product like Windows. Instead of teaching you that in school, now we got to charge you. And if your job doesn't pay for it, you have to take it. And this is the problem with a lot of the proponents of education. That education that you're paying for doesn't mean anything. The experience means something. And God proved it with me as a 19-year-old. I was running entire departments, entire divisions with no degree, and with other people off the street, no degree, just teaching them, just like, hey, listen, this is what you need to know. Do this. And they were able to take that and grow it and actually be smarter than me in that particular thing. So, yeah, on paper, you have to have a degree. This is what a lot of these jobs say. But in the actuality, you don't. So we need to start looking at what's right. The right thing to do is hire the right person for the job, whether they have the degree or not. So I hope this was enlightening. Probably talk about this again soon, but that Dave Chappell, that post about Netflix just sparked something with me, because I know this is a much bigger and broader issue than just what was happening to him. We need to take a look at this and look within ourselves to see what are we doing just off legalities versus what is right, what they told us was right. Because what they tell us is right can change. And we saw that with prohibition. We've even seen that with slavery. It was legal to rape slaves, to rape women. They raping the men too. They were raping the kids. It was legal to do all that stuff. You could whip them, beat them, cut them open, put cats in them, perform experimental surgeries with no anesthesia. You could do all this stuff legally, but was it the right thing to do? So we got to get out of this stuff. This is the law. This is the law. This is the law. No, what is right? And this is where our society is heading. But there's going to be a lot of pain before we get there. But this is where we're heading. We're heading towards what is right because people are sick of this now. And they want what's right because they see it's affecting them. And they want what's right. So I encourage you today, want what's right. Thank you. I'm your host, Dame Rich. I look forward to seeing you next time.